It's probably one of the things I enjoy most about racing is the people who are there and all the people that I get to meet and get to see again. So even though last year we did have races, it was different and we were stuck in our bubbles and we couldn't really go out and have the same feeling with the races. I'm really hoping that it will be soon that we can return to like the full on race feeling, race program with spectators, with the people, with it's all around it that makes it so good and makes it such a great experience to be at the races and what I really enjoy about it.
It's showtime, everybody! Showtime!
You've been living in a dream world, Neil. This is the world as it exists today.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Listen, we're talking about practice.
Hey, Pete, on the dude's run.
Donnie, you're out of your element.
I see. You think this has nothing to do with you.
Don't ever trash talk Black Jesus.
This is the Adventure Stache with Payson McKelvin.
Hello and welcome to the final edition of the Zwift Trek Factory Racing Adventure Stache collaboration here on Zwift. Thank you all so much for joining today. It's going to be a lot of fun. I had a wonderful conversation with Jolanda, which you will hear from in just a moment. As you pedal along, please do ask us follow-up questions via the Zwift Companion app. Both Jolanda and I will be on that Zwift Companion app answering follow-up questions that may come to mind for you as you're listening. Also, if you like the looks of the jersey you're wearing, you can get yourself a real-life version on Valet.com. That can be a baggy version. We've got nice, sleek, just arrived actually, the nice, sleek Velocity race jersey. That is the highest-end Valet offering. I love it. I train and race in it all the time. Also got some great bib options there. And 8% of the proceeds from the sale of these kits, regardless of which model, whether it's a baggy or spandex, 8% of the proceeds go to the Low Lifes Trail Organization, which is the backyard trails organization of Zwift. They're doing awesome work in the Angeles National Forest, making sure that we have access to great mountain biking, gravel riding, etc., and hiking in the Angeles National Forest. So thanks so much to them. I'd like to give a big shout out to Whoop for being a long-time supporter of this podcast. Whoop is one of the most popular fitness wearables right now. It's a 24/7 health tracker that provides actionable insights to help you recover faster, train smarter, and sleep better. What are actionable insights? It's data basically that you can use. You know, sometimes in this day and age of big data, we get information, but don't really know how to use it. Whoop helps you get that data, but also helps guide you on how to use it. Your Whoop syncs seamlessly with your mobile device and uploads all of your data directly to the Whoop app. With 2021 underway, hopefully a good start for everyone, we all have fitness or health goals in mind that we'd like to achieve, and Whoop can help. Right now, Whoop is offering 15% off when you use the code PAYSON at checkout. All you have to do is go to whoop.com, whoop.com, and enter PAYSON at checkout and save yourself 15% off. Thanks to you guys for joining us today. Thanks to Zwift for putting together this really fun series of rides. I'm sad to say that this is our last one for now. I'm excited to say that there will be something new coming. Stay tuned for that. But until then, please, I'd say sit back and enjoy, but we're all sitting forward and pedaling. So pedal hard, pedal easy, whatever floats your boat. This is a no-drop ride. We're here to have fun, listen to the episode, learn from Jolanda, and work up a sweat at the same time. So thanks so much for joining us today, and I will catch you at the end of the ride for a few more words. Have fun.
You're in the Canary Islands, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
But you're not supposed to be right now anymore.
Yeah, so, but I don't mind. It's okay. Yeah, my flight back home got cancelled. It was meant to be, I was meant to be home by now. But, so yeah, I'm staying longer, but it's like a paradise for cycling, so it's perfect. It's good for me to be here.
Yeah, so you're able to, it's not like you're stuck in a hotel room or at a airport. You're able to keep training with your extra time there?
Yeah, for sure. I'm still at the same place where I was in the beginning, so I have the same setup, and I'm just having a longer training camp than planned, but it's okay. It's good.
Yeah, nice. Is that somewhere you typically go in the winter?
Yeah, January, I came here for the first time in 2013, and I've been coming back here every January. I wasn't here the last 2 years, but every other year I've been here, and it has always been like a crucial block in my build-up, in my training throughout the winter. So yeah, I'm super happy to be back here. It has been 3 years since I was here the last time, and yeah, now I'm really enjoying it and loving the riding here. It's very hilly. There's a lot of mountains. It's like a volcano in the middle of the island, so you either climb or you descend. So it's good to be here for sure.
So when you're there doing your training, I assume this time of year it's pretty long hours, quote unquote base miles typically. But I also know that you balance mountain bike and cyclocross most years. How does that work? When do you take your break? Do you finish racing cross and then just immediately go there to the Canary Islands to start your big hours? How do you structure this time of year typically?
Well, so this winter I'm not doing any cyclocross races, so I would say it's back to how I usually do it or always did it. And I only started to race cyclocross about 3 or 4 years ago for the first time, and even then I've never ever had like a full cross season from the beginning, from September, October to the end. I've always just done some races throughout the winter to just keep it fun, to have some racing going on, and I really enjoy the cross races. And even now, even when I'm not racing, I really enjoy following the races, and I know a lot of the riders, and in the girls field, with Lucinda, for example, it was super nice to follow along and to know that she's on a track bike and on a track team. There's a lot of people that I know from there as well, so yeah, I really enjoy following it, and I also really enjoy racing it myself. It has just not worked out this year, but I would really hope to be back and race some more cross in the coming winters. And I mean, to balance this, to come back to your question, it's not like I would do much different than I normally do. The only difference is I race instead of just training, but like the structure of my year remains the same, and I take my break after the mountain bike season, and then I start riding again, and then I just add some races, which is cool to mix it up and to have some small goals throughout the winter. I really enjoy it. So yeah, I don't know. Have you raced cross before?
A little bit, yeah. I've raced a little bit of cross, but definitely nothing internationally. I mean, here in the States, it's pretty funny. We have so many different kinds of mountain bike races, and they start in February and go all the way until November these days. And so you almost are sort of like racing a cross season, but they're mountain bike races because they go all the way into the winter. So I end up racing a lot anyway, but not too much cross in the past. But it is fun. It is a good way, it seems like, to change it up while still incorporating some things that carry over to the mountain bike.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the cross scene in the US is also very interesting. I think there's it's a lot of lifestyle that goes into it, and a lot of a lot of nice people there, and a lot of good times at the races. I think it's like a community thing. I think as well. It's socially it's nice to go there.
For sure, for sure. Are you skipping cross this year mostly just because of it being an Olympic year?
Like different reasons. In the beginning, I was planning to do some cross, but then the off season was much later than it usually would be, with the mountain bike season being so late, on the end of October, and usually we stop like first week of September. We usually have the last race or one of the last races. So that being pushed back almost 2 months, my whole off season was pushed back, and then in the end there was not time enough to get everything ready and sorted, or to get myself ready and sorted. So in the end, I decided to skip it, sorry, altogether, and then hopefully next year. I've already looked at the calendar, and the first 3 cross races would be in the US, so that would be amazing. And I've actually raced there before in Waterloo, where the track headquarters located. So that would be the first cross race of next season, and I would love to be there, and I would love to race. It's a fun little track around those fields. That would be really cool to be there. And then, yeah, I mean, that would already be a different schedule than now this last off season. So yeah, it would be nice to make it.
For sure, for sure. And where are you spending most of your off seasons right now? Because I know for a period of time, maybe last year you were in North Carolina with Luca. Is that right?
Yeah. So there's not like a pattern how I do it every year. It's like different every year where I am and how I do it, depending on a lot of things. Currently on Corona restrictions, so it's not easy to travel. So for this off season, I've really been here in Gran Canaria training. But in the past, I did spend a lot of time in the States as well. Like for example, last winter, all of December I was in North Carolina, and the year before I was in North Carolina for a full month after the season directly in October, November. So yeah, I really enjoyed to be there, and I really like spending time there. It's nice to slow down after the season and to just hang out. It's a super beautiful forest that they have around there, not just one but multiple, and they are huge and they are made for mountain biking. There's tons of trails, so it's good fun to be there, and I really enjoy to hang out.
Yeah. What are some of your observations having spent, a whole off season in America, the United States? Culturally, it's really, really different. Are there some things that you think are really funny or silly, and maybe other things that you appreciate about being in the United States?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I love discovering new cultures, and I love to travel, and all my life I've been to so many different places. I still remember in 2014, I had a year where in 12 months I was on every continent. We've had some races in China the year before, and then Australia, we went to Brazil, we went to Rio de Janeiro, we went to South Africa, we went to Europe all over, we went to the States, we went to Canada. It was all in 12 months, and I love traveling. I love to meet new people. I love to, just learn things about their culture and the world and everything. So I really embrace new places and new people, and I really enjoy it. So it was awesome for me to be in the States, and I spent a winter in New Zealand before, like 3 months, and I really still have like amazing memories, and I really enjoyed those times. So being in the States was super nice as well for me to get to know a whole new culture, and it's so much more than you could ever expect and that you could ever think. And there's like the only image and the only picture you have of a country that you haven't been to is what you probably read in the news or read in some books, or I don't know, seen some movies. Like you put your picture together, but then when you go there, it's a complete different story, and it's something that you could not imagine, you could not expect. There is so many surprises, there's so many things that you start to realize, start to understand, and even now when I come back, I still every time there is new things that I discover and realize, like, oh wow, that's how it works, and that's how people are used to do those things, and yeah, it's super nice for me. I really enjoy it, and I think like to name probably what stands out to me the most is how quiet and how calm it is there. It's very much in the countryside. There is not like a huge city with millions of people. It's very quiet and very calm. And compared, especially to where I come from in Switzerland, it's a tiny country where people live really fence to fence next to each other. You have like your garden, which is like 2 meters wide, and then your neighbor has his garden, which is 2 meters wide, and that's just the way it is, and that's just how it works. Like half of our country is mountains, so there is not really space to live. So the whole population is in the flat part. So it really is so close together, and it's just normal. It's just like everyone is used to that, and everyone does it like that, and there is no questioning about it. But then when you come to the States, there is so much room and so much space for everyone, and even like a 5-minute drive to your neighbor's house, it really is so different. And I mean, I guess throughout the U.S. it's very different as well. If you go to California, it's a different story than when you're in North Carolina or in New York or anywhere. Like to even just to realize how big, how just incredibly huge this country is. I think it would be the same as when you go from Portugal all the way to Russia. It's it's huge, and I do appreciate it a lot, and I do enjoy to be there.
Yeah, for sure. I know
Where do you
around this. Where do I live?
Yeah.
I'm in Durango, Colorado most of the time.
Ah, right. Yeah.
So that's
a big city, or that's.
It's a small town, but it has probably the richest mountain bike culture in the country. So we have lots of the top mountain bike riders live there now, but then lots of the top riders from the past live there too. So if you know the names John Tomac or Ned Overend, Ruthie Mathis, Greg Herbold was the first ever downhill world champion in 1990. So originally I'm from Texas. I'm from Austin, Texas, but I moved to Durango, Colorado just to be in that very rich cycling environment so that I could get better. And also it's just a beautiful place to live. But this time of year I'm in California.
And you have like big mountains there, or big forests, or what's like the defining thing of Durango?
Yeah, big mountains. So we're at very high elevation. My house is at about 2,500 meters. In some ways, probably kind of like the mountains of Switzerland a little bit. Definitely smaller mountain towns and people that like to do outdoor things, spend most of their time outdoors. People aren't as worried about if their garden is 2 meters long, but other than that, there might be some similarities.
Oh, that's cool. And you're just in California to escape the weather?
Yeah, so we always get a pretty hard winter in Durango, but this year is especially tough. I always go down to Southern California in January. Red Bull has a really awesome training facility there. Yeah, just a great place to spend the winter, really.
That's cool. But then Austin isn't really like mountain biking, like that's rather flat.
True. Yeah, I'm impressed that you know that. That your geography is very impressive. That's one thing. Just side note. That's one thing I really appreciate about people from other countries. Oftentimes, is y'all are so educated when it comes to the other parts of the world. I mean, if we asked, the average American what the topography or geography is like in Switzerland, they might say, "Oh, well, isn't that where the Matterhorn is?" But other than that, they'd have no idea. The fact that you know that Austin is flat is amazing to me.
I think everyone knows that Texas is rather flat.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
And I mean, probably most people know there is some mountains in Switzerland.
Yeah.
Not that hard. Yeah, I've just read the book of Matthew McConaughey, and he's on Austin.
He is.
He is there. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you like that book?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's pretty new. I think it only came out a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like his autobiography, but yeah, I enjoyed it. He had some interesting stories to share, so yeah, it was cool to read.
Yeah. Do you read a lot? Is that something you try to prioritize?
Not like I try to prioritize it, but I enjoy it. Like when I do have time, then I really enjoy to read it. So it's probably the last point on my list of priorities. Probably what I do the last when I pick up everything else. Like I enjoy it a lot, but yeah, it's definitely. I wish I could do it more often, but yeah, when I do it, I enjoy it.
Yeah. So, kind of getting back to, I want to talk a little bit about what it's been like in your life the last year and a half, because it's been a crazy roller coaster for everybody, but especially for you, I think. Around this time last year, maybe it was late December, early January, maybe about a year ago that you had your big crash. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk us through a little bit. I mean, we don't need to go into too much detail because obviously there's been a lot of media around it and all that sort of thing. But I guess I'd kind of like to hear from you a little bit what it's been like to go through that really hard period where maybe you thought, this Olympic cycle was going to be a long shot for you or very compromised. And then all of a sudden the Olympics get postponed. Walk us through what that period has been like, where you had these downs and then ups, and then the Olympics are kind of uncertain again. It's such a wild time.
Yeah, like interestingly, I was actually really focused on the Olympics and happy about them. I was never worried about them. Like even after my crash, I was just taking every day at a time, and I was getting back on my bike and taking it one step at a time. And I remember I had some really good feelings and sensations on the bike, and I was really enjoying to ride again. It was every day was just another step forward and an achievement, and every day I started to feel better. So I actually have a lot of really good memories from getting back on the bike and starting to ride again. I was in a really good mindset. I really enjoyed it, and I had a lot of amazing support from Luca, my boyfriend, and also from my family, and also the team track. They were incredible throughout the whole time. I remember in February when Corona wasn't really a thing yet, I was training so good and I was loving it, and it was really nice and really good for me. And then in April, I think that's when Corona kind of arrived and the races started to get canceled. So I really slowed my training down in March and April. I did less than I did before for sure, but that also kind of gave me the opportunity to just not have to force anything, because for a long time I wasn't allowed to bring my heart rate up, not to so the blood pressure doesn't get up, so that there would be no injury being caused again. So yeah, I was just it was good for me anyways to take it a bit easier and to take it, slow it down a little bit. So I had some easier months in March and April, and I was actually in the States during that whole time. I was there for more than 2 months in March, April, May, and I only went back home to Switzerland end of May, and then I kind of started training again in June. We had a camp with the national team, and I started to really get back into the rhythm again and do really good trainings. And then by July, I was actually, we had Swiss Championships end of July, pretty much the same date that we would have had the Olympic Games, and I had a fantastic race. It was the perfect race from start to finish, and I won with a couple minutes advantage. And I mean, we have a good field in Switzerland. We have Linda Indergan, Sina Fry, Alessandra Keller, Mona Fortini, all of them former world champions. We have Nicole Kohler, also world champion. we have about 6 world champions in the same race, of course from like under 23 or juniors. But yeah, we do have a really good level. So I was super happy with that race, and I felt really good, and I saw where I was going and I saw where I was heading. So even though there was like all the corona thing going on, I still, of course, I would have wished for a different season, but I was like in a good mindset, and I had good memories from pretty much the whole time. And I think right now, I'm also training, and I'm focused, and I'm motivated, and I'm happy about what I'm doing, and I enjoy what I do. But I have a feeling that this coming year, that like this coming season, there might still be a lot of changes, and you still have to stay very flexible in terms of planning, in terms of adaptation. So I would have planned to start my season middle February this year in Chelva, close to Valencia. There was a mountain bike race, and this has already been cancelled. So now I'm starting my season a week later in Banyoles, which is also in Spain. And I really still hope this goes ahead, because then in March, there was meant to be a race in Marseille in France, which has also been cancelled. There was meant to be a Swiss Cup, which has been cancelled. So I think we're in for a little bit more of a roller coaster ride. I think it's not over yet. And yeah, there will be changes. You have to stay flexible, and you have to adapt to whatever is coming up. But I'm crossing my fingers that we get to race this year.
Yeah, for sure. So in regards to your training camp right now, I'm curious, you mentioned that there's all of these uncertainties. We don't really know what racing is going to be like. We'd like to think that the Olympics are going to happen, but that's uncertain too. When you're out there training, does that affect your motivation at all? Are you someone that really needs these goals out on the horizon to really be able to train at 100%?
I think I'm someone who really enjoys to race and really loves to race. But the good thing with me is I don't need a huge race to have a motivation. Like, no matter if it's the Olympic Games or if it's a local race or if I actually race someone else here on the island up the hill, I don't really care and I don't really mind. Of course, I do enjoy the biggest races the most, and the more of a race it is, and the more of attention there is to it, the more I love it and the more I enjoy it. I am like, I live for the races, and I love it so much. But at the same time, even when it's a small race, or even when it's something small that is coming up, it goes a bit in the same direction as the cyclocross races. That's the same principle for me. It like just breaks up my winter. It gives me a little, something to eat, a little a little bite of racing, which just keeps me on track and keeps me happy and keeps me having fun, and seeing also all these people again that I know. And it's probably one of the things I enjoy most about racing is the people who are there, and all the people that I get to meet and get to see again. So even though last year we did have races, it was like a special feeling to it, because it was different and we were stuck in our bubbles and we couldn't really go out and have the same feeling with the races. I'm really hoping that it will be soon that we can return to like the full-on race feeling, race program with spectators, with people, with it's all around it that makes it so good and makes it such a great experience to be at the races, and what I really enjoy about it. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And when you're in a training camp like that, as you're working towards these goals, is there anything that you have to have, or is there anything you think about when you're putting together your little office there, your remote office, that you think especially about? How do you structure your training camps so that you are a happy athlete that's able to, get the most out of your time?
It always really depends who I'm going with. So, for example, here it was a team camp from the national team. So I was here with the Swiss Cycling Federation. We were actually like 17 girls all together, and we had a chef here, our own chef from Switzerland, who came with us. So we were staying in a hotel, but then we had our very own separate place to eat. There were no other hotel guests. We had our own food from our chef. We had two coaches here who were following us in the car on all our rides, and we had a physio here for massage, and we really had the perfect setup. And that's the great thing with a federation like Swiss Cycling is they really support us, and they also really support girls, not just the men, but like really for all these girls. It has been a perfect training camp. We couldn't have thought of anything better, and we didn't have to do 1 second of organization. We got an email with our flight information, with all the information. All we had to do was show up and come here and ride our bikes. So it was absolutely perfect. And I think it's also super cool that we have so many girls who can train together and can train on a good level. And so even now it was a huge group, and that was perfect for me. That's like dream like training camp because I have a group. I don't have to think about where I want to ride, with whom I want to ride. It's just everything is here. And then they went back home, and I stayed here because my friend Maya was here actually, who's also a rider from Poland, Maya Ostrowska. So I was training with her, and I was also living with her. And now when my flight got cancelled, I moved back into the hotel where I was in the beginning. So now I'm back in this hotel by myself, which is a bit less dreamlike, I would say. But yeah, I'm making the most of it. I'm still having really good rides. I know all the routes. I know where to go. The food is really good here. Yeah, so it's like still a really good setup. For sure, one of the things that I love most about riding is to ride with other people. So right now I have to be lucky on my rides to find other people. But other than that, yeah, I would say for sure, if I am looking for something in a training camp, it's other people to ride.
Mm-hmm. And with that dynamic, I mean, you just mentioned that you're riding with a lot of your Swiss teammates. Is there ever any like strange competitiveness that goes on, like an underlying, we're both vying for the Olympic team, or we're both vying for the World Championships team, whatever it is, or is everyone pretty professional and you know what you're there to do? And predominantly, I assume you're doing very big, kind of easier rides. How's that vibe amongst the Swiss teammates typically?
I would say it's super good, and it couldn't be better because we know each other for such a long time already. For example, Linda Indergan, she's exactly the same age as I am, and since we are, I don't know, 12 years old, every weekend we race in the same category, in the same place, and we've known each other for centuries, and we've spent so many camps together, and yeah, it's a really good vibe, I would say, because everyone knows each other and everyone is supportive of each other, and there is no weird fights going on. And even people who are racing each other on the highest level for titles, like for example Sina and Alessandra, they like world championships, they both fight for the title, but even they get along really good, and we all get along. And I think a big part of that is thanks to our national coach Eddie, who really just creates an atmosphere where everyone is good with each other, everyone respects each other, everyone helps each other. We're one team. We want to go the same way. We have the same goals, and we help each other, and not just in training, but also apart from training. So I would say it's a super nice team vibe, and it's actually nice to have some competitiveness in a way that we can train together and we can challenge each other, and everyone can learn something from the other. So it's super nice to have that, and I would say it's not just easy and logical and natural to create that environment, but after years of work and really a lot of investment from everyone's side and a lot of common interest, I think we are at a point where we can really all benefit from these training camps.
Yeah. And speaking of teammates and such, I want to talk about Trek Factory a little bit, because a couple of years ago you made a big move and decided to move over to a completely different team, completely different bikes. I have to assume kind of different team culture in some ways. I would like to hear some of what that was like, whether it was scary to make that move or really exciting, and some of the observations, whether they be about how the team works from an organizational standpoint or how the team culture is different, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I've moved teams a lot throughout my life. I think so at some point I was moving teams every year, and then I went to like being 2 years on the same team. But the longest I've ever been on any team was 2 years. I was really moving teams a lot, and mostly because the teams folded and they just stopped to exist, and I didn't even know about that. And moving to track was the first time ever that I did a team move where my old team still was existing and still keeps going, which is actually Maya's team, the cross racing team. That's where I was before I came to track. So that was really the first time I moved because it was my decision and my wish to come here. And I would say one of the big points why I moved to Trek was the bike because they told me about the super caliber, which was then not existent yet, but they told me about the project and they've been working on it for 4 years and it really sounded like such a great bike and like it was working amazing and I could do some test riding and it really felt so good and that was probably one of the parts why I thought like, that would be so cool to ride for treks actually. And then another point that made my decision to come to trek was that they have these teams that are on the road in cyclocross and in mountain biking and everywhere. It's just they are top level in all the disciplines and they have all the structures ready. They are already working with the best athletes across all disciplines. So that was so fantastic to me because I could race cross. I had a structure. I had a great bike. I could even do some road racing if I wanted to. I had incredible like an incredible setup there as well. Like it was just everything was here and ready. And on top of all that, I mean, Trek is just a really renowned bike brand. They've done so much for the sport and developed so many bikes and on all levels like slope style, downhill, triathlon, road cycling, anywhere. Like Trek is a name and Trek has some pretty insane things and so it was super exciting for me to join the team and come here and right now I'm in my third year at track, which is a little achievement for me because it's the first time ever that I'm 3 years on the same team. So I'm super happy about that, and I really do feel at home, and I really do enjoy to work with the people from track, be it just in the team, like the mechanics and the team, everyone who's involved in the team at the races. I enjoy that, but I also really enjoy to work with the people from Track America, from the headquarters. I'm in touch with them quite a lot, so I really do enjoy that, and I do feel at home, and also I can see how track is giving so many athletes like Sven Knight or Tracy Motley or Jens Voigt. They even though they stopped racing, they are still doing fantastic things
Right on.
to develop cycling, to help young talents, to help the sport, like so many cool things, and I find that really really exciting. So there's so many points that speak for track, and I really do enjoy to represent them and to ride their bikes. And yeah, I'm super happy with the bikes, and I'm super happy with the kit, which is maybe a small detail, but to me it doesn't matter to have a nice cycling kit. So I enjoy that a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great to hear. Yeah, it really does seem like, based on what I've seen in the past years of your career and the other bikes you chose to ride, hardtail versus full suspension at given races, it does seem like that super caliber is kind of the perfect Yolanda bike in some ways because it's so stiff and agile and has a lot of characteristics of a hardtail, yet you can ride it much more aggressively and harder because obviously the geometry is better and it's full suspension. So
Yeah.
that's really I have to assume that was really exciting when they started to tell you about that bike. Have you happened to seen some of the very early prototypes, the photographs of the very early prototypes?
Yeah, they showed me that. Yeah, it was really interesting to see. I had some meeting with some engineers, and they told me the story and showed me the photos, and yeah, it was really cool to see. And yeah, I absolutely love the bike. It's a dream bike for me, and especially for World Cup racing, where nowadays with the short track and the cross country race, where you have to use the same bike, you see so many people thinking all week what bike should they ride, and for me that's not even ever any question anymore. Like since I got the Super Caliber, I did every single race on that bike, and it was perfect every time. So it's for me, it's amazing.
Yeah. I've taken a ton of your time here. There's lots more I'd like to talk about, but I guess briefly, I mentioned earlier, Luca, if you're comfortable, I'd love to hear, because that's an interesting dynamic. He's one of the best downhill racers in the world. Obviously, you're one of the best cross country racers in the world. I'm curious what that dynamic is like as you support each other's careers. Obviously, you get to go to a bunch of the same places during the race season. Um, but what is how do y'all support each other and your careers a little bit? I think it's really cool that we have these two very high profile athletes, each doing a different discipline, kind of helping support each other's goals at the same time. That's special and unique.
Yeah, it's great. For me, it's perfect. I really enjoy it because he knows what I'm talking about when we talk about racing, and even when we talk about other things, we both understand that we're happy to talk about other things and that it doesn't have to be racing all the time. So I think we have a similar understanding, and we both enjoy also, like, I mean, our calendars are the same. We have off season at the same time, we have time to hang out and chill, and then we have training time at the same time. So it's really quite nice that we can, yeah, it's just, it goes hand in hand, and then we don't even have to think about it or to plan it. It just happens that way, so that it's perfect. And at the same time, he's a professional athlete and I'm a professional athlete. So it's not just like I can take him on my training camps all the time, or I can just bring him along as I would love to do, because yeah, he has his own training to do as well, and he has his plan and his team and his structure, and yeah, the races coming up, and the races sometimes in different places than I do. So yeah, for example, my friend Maya here, she also has her boyfriend with her, and he's just here with her. So then it's like perfect, I would say. But at the same time, there is so much understanding that Luca has that probably somebody who's not an athlete doesn't have. And yeah, I really enjoy spending time with him and hanging out with him. So I think we are still improving on having our training camps maybe in the same place or at the same time, which we've done that in the past already. With Viale Liguria, for example, in Italy, there is really good endurance downhill trails, and it's also perfect for cross country riding. So there is places that we can use together. I guess it's just right now with Corona, it's a bit harder. But other than that, for me, it's perfect. And yeah, I can learn so much from him, from riding bikes and riding. I mean, I can follow him for probably half a corner, and then there is like no way I could ever keep up. But I still love to ride with him, and yeah, and I think we both do enjoy to go out in the forest together, and yeah, have a good day on the bike. So yeah, I love it, and it's great. And also his family is super nice, and as you know, his brother is riding bikes really fast as well. So it's great for me to ride with him, and yeah, I enjoy it a lot to hang out with him.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can teach him a few things about fitness and training too. Does he ever try to keep up with you on your training rides?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, sometimes one time we had like a really nice ride where he was on the e-bike, and I was, oh my no, oh my god,
He's
that
gonna
was
hate that you
perfect.
just said that.
Really That's actually great. But other than that, we like, for example, on the road we do a lot of riding together. He rides his road bike quite a bit, and I enjoy road riding as well. So on the road bike, I would say it's perfect, and we can go the same speed. But if I'm on my cross country race bike, which is like a super light bike made to race, and he's on his, I don't know, enduro bike riding up the hill, which is already twice the weight of my bike. Yeah, then it's a different story. But then going down the hill, I'm on my race bike, and he's on his super full suspension enduro bike. So then I have no chance. But yeah, we both enjoy to ride together, and we both can hopefully learn something from each other, or even just to share what we're doing. Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah. Well, I lied because I have one more follow-up question. If you're willing to give me 2 more minutes, you mentioned a moment ago just your ability to kind of connect with him off the bike too. You know, you need to get away from the bike some of the time, obviously, and I'm curious where you find that balance. You know, other than sharing interests off the bike with Luca, what do you, Jolanda, what interests you off the bike? What do you like to spend time doing? Whether it's, you know, are there you said you read Matthew McConaughey's book recently. Are there people outside of the sport that you look up to, or topics you're interested in, ways you like to kind of develop a little bit more balance in your life so it's not all bikes all the time?
Well, my number one non-bike activity would be to go shopping. But then it's not exactly Luca's favorite activity. So I would say if we want to do something together, we rather go to the motocross track, because he's really into dirt bikes and he really loves it. And he actually bought a dirt bike for me as well, which is super cool. So when I'm at his place, we go to the dirt bike track together, and I can ride as well, which is a lot of fun, and which I really enjoy it. It's super cool for me. It's something that I've not been doing before. It's something new, and it's a lot of fun. So for sure, that's his number one activity to do outside of cycling. And yeah, for me, it's perfect, and I can still go shopping on my own.
What kind of shopping are we? What kind of shopping are we talking? Are we talking clothes shopping, or you know, what kind of shopping?
Just everything. Clothes, shoes, bags, I don't know, anything that girls love. Just, yeah, I do enjoy shopping, but at the moment all the shops are closed in the school. So yeah, it's a different story. But anyways, it's not like I go shopping all the time, but it's something I enjoy. And I enjoy reading books, and I enjoy hanging out with my family. I enjoy having nice dinners. I enjoy going to restaurants, going to the city, meeting my friends. I would love to go skiing in winter. It's something I've always done a lot and enjoyed a lot. In the last years, it was not like I was doing it often, because usually I was training on my bike in the winter time. But yeah, I do enjoy to be in the mountains, in the snow. I also I snowboard and I ski, and yeah, lots of different things. Yeah, I have a brother, I have a sister. I enjoy to hang out with them. So yeah, there's plenty of stuff, and I really enjoy all of it. But I would say most of all, I enjoy to ride my bike.
That's what we like to hear. Well, thank you so much for giving me so much time. It was really fun to get to know you a little bit. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on? Anything else you had on your mind?
Well, I'm sorry I didn't ask you that many questions.
That's not what we're here for. That's not already. You were. It was funny. You already kind of flipped the script a little bit, and you're asking me some questions, which is really nice. But I'm the interviewer.
I feel bad if we only talk about me. I feel bad. I think we should talk 50-50 at least.
Well, the people are here for you. You asked way more questions of me than most guests do, so I appreciate your interest.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
I don't know, do you ever listen to the Joe Rogan podcast?
I do, very much so. Yeah, he's kind of the greatest of all time. It's interesting that he's develop such an incredible, thing that he's built. Is that a show that
Yeah,
you enjoy listening to?
it's crazy, yeah, because he just started on YouTube and it just went from there, and now it's so big. It's incredible, yeah, yeah. Because sometimes he has guests, and then he asks them one question, and they just talk for 20 minutes straight. So I was just hoping I was not going to be one of those guests.
You know what? That's when I know I'm doing my job well. When you ask a question and there's a 20-minute answer, that's perfect. That's great. That's what you shoot
Perfect.
for.
You get your paycheck without saying anything for 20 minutes. That's my work. It's easy.
That's pretty funny. Yeah. Well, it's cool that you listen to Joe Rogan because he's a polarizing figure in some ways. He's very outspoken. He doesn't necessarily worry too much about what others think. He just speaks his mind. But I think he has a very almost like sneaky good intellect.
Yeah, he doesn't care about conventions. That's for sure. And I think that's what makes it so fun to listen, because you know that you're not signing up for some like polished, wannabe, super politically correct whatever. He just says whatever he thinks, and that's what makes it fun. So it's just raw. It's just genuine. So that's really cool. Yeah.
Have you listened to any of his recent episodes that you really enjoyed?
Yeah, to a few, like all the time. Yeah, I don't like. I like the one with Miley Cyrus. For sure.
Wasn't that amazing? So good. I thought that was so impressively honest and just such a cool peek at what it must be like to be a massive pop star like that, a huge public figure.
Yeah, and it's so cool how, I think the interviews that he usually does are like 2, 3, 4 minutes long, maximum 10 minutes, just to promote a new song or a new album or something. So I felt like that was a time where he could really speak freely, and just 2.5 hours, they were just going back and forward. It was so cool to listen. Yeah, I really think it's a cool format, and he does it in the best possible way.
Yeah. Well, if you wanted to, once you have a little more time, I could definitely see you hosting a podcast.
Oh, no. Not anytime soon. Not anytime soon. I think you do a lot of work.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's also very enjoyable. Well, thank you so much, Jolanda. I hope that you're able to get home again soon, although if you have to be stuck somewhere, the Canary Islands are not a bad place to do it.
That's right. Yeah. Thanks for the talk. It was really fun to talk to you. Keep it up with your podcast, with your writing, and see you out there somewhere. Thank you.
Yes, sounds good. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Catch you next time. Bye.
Hello, everyone, and thanks again for joining us today. I'm your Adventure Stache host, Payson McKelvin, co-leading today with Jolanda. I hope you really enjoyed that group ride. I really enjoyed chatting with Jolanda, and it was really fun riding with her today, too. Hopefully you got some of your follow-up questions answered. And although this is the last iteration of our series with Trek Factory Racing, there will be something new coming. That said, I want to extend a very heartfelt thank you to Trek for helping make this happen. It's been so cool catching up with a lot of their all-star Trek Factory Racing athletes. For anyone that missed any of these group rides but would like to go back and listen to the conversations, you can go to iTunes or Spotify and look up the Adventure Stache and listen to our conversations recorded with folks like Evie Richards, Stefan Tempier, Anton Cooper, Ellen Noble, and many more. Thanks again so much for joining today. If you like the looks of the jersey you're wearing, of the kit you're wearing, you can go to valet.com and get a real-life version. 8% of proceeds of the sale of those kits goes to the Low Lifes Trail Organization, which is Zwift's backyard trail organization. So your money goes to a good cause. Thanks once more to Zwift for putting together a really, really fun series. Although this is the last Trek Factory series ride, obviously Zwift has an insane number of offerings each and every day, whether it's a race, a group ride, some sort of coached, guided workout. whatever you're looking for, there is an option for it on Zwift. So you'll see me out here riding Zwift frequently, and I hope to see some of y'all's friendly faces again soon, whether here in Watopia or one of the other worlds. Until then, keep up the good work, and thanks for listening.